Good morning. Welcome to the usual suspects. Great to have you with us on this Thanksgiving weekend. Let's all try to remember that because we're acting like we're live. We actually taped this because we didn't want to be here either. But we're glad you're with us. Gary YORDON, Steve VANCORE.
Great countdown for the opening, by the way. That was good.
No, oh, I'm sorry. Should I have warned you?
You should have warned us. We're talking about my wife's marathon run. And
David Hart, nice to have you back from the Florida Chamber of Commerce, and Alice Ancona, who has the best title on the planet. I mean, seriously. I mean, Alice,
Supreme Allied Commander?
No, I think this one's even better. The Director of Global Outreach.
That's okay.
Come on.
Second, but Supreme Allied Commander. I'll take Commander, Director of Global Research or Global
Outreach. I mean, that's everything.
Yeah,
yes, that's the word.
That's very cool.
It's great to have you guys here.
Thank you.
And we hope all of you at home had a lovely Thanksgiving. And this is a Saturday morning, so you're probably in recovery mode. We think that's a good thing. Okay, what we're going to be doing today. You read where the governor again went to Japan, another one of his outreach trips to stimulate economic development in the state of Florida. And now we've begun to see over the 3 years of this administration a developing pattern of really outreaching into the universe. And that's exactly what has been happening. Very few folks know what's going on with that better than the Florida Chamber of Commerce, and so that's the discussion we want to have today.
Excellent. And Dave's been, you went to Japan, and really cool stories.
That
I
was
wish
exciting.
we could do a separate show on just Dave's individual stories about his experiences there, because the ones you've had so far, really you could write a book on.
They've been great trips, and it's fun to go promote Florida. I mean, that's the really exciting part of these trips.
And you guys really come back with business deals.
Yeah, in fact, the governor's 10 trips now have totaled something approximating $400 million worth of deals and economic activity for Florida's economy and for our businesses. It's very good.
All right, well, what we want to talk to both of you about today is what are we selling? What it is in Florida that makes us an attractive partner, and what that really means. Because I think we see the trips, but I think folks have a hard time interpreting that to what it really means on the ground. And so we want to be able to do that, and clearly we have the two right people to have this discussion. We'll probably roll some politics into this as well. And so glad you're with us on this weekend, and we'll see you guys in a minute. Stay with us. I guess like you, and you know, we follow this stuff pretty closely. When we found out that the governor had been to Japan, was going to Japan, it was, okay, that one's interesting. We had gotten into the rhythm of South America as our leading trading partners, but once we found out, why Japan and why? Alice, but let me start first. You're kind of new to the chamber. Yes. They have brought you in specifically to take a look at these kind of issues. Kind of define your universe for us a little bit. What's in your scope of vision?
Well, it's actually a very big universe, and a lot of what I'll be doing is advocating Florida and promoting Florida, not just internationally, but also here in the U.S. It's both ways. When we look at international trade, you know, and you had asked the question to David earlier, you know, why, you know, you're selling Florida, what are you selling to Florida? Well, Florida is also a great place to do business, and it's also an entryway into doing business into the U.S. So it's a platform for doing business in the U.S. When many companies look to do foreign direct investment here in the U.S., they'll start setting up companies in Florida because of our low tax rate, because it's a great place to live.
A great physical location.
It's a great physical location.
At 30,000 feet, Florida literally sticks out as a good entry point into the rest of this hemisphere.
So I'm in a way, my job is to sell Florida. It isn't just talking about international trade. It isn't just talking about free trade agreements. It isn't just going to Washington and advocating and promoting, you know, a better regulatory environment. It isn't just going to free trade missions, but it is promoting the state of Florida.
So you'll be doing that externally, but you'll also be doing it legislatively. I mean, you'll be working with the Florida legislature on those kind of, I guess, barriers, real or artificial.
Correct. So there's a lot of advocacy work, both to the legislature and to Washington.
Wow, I mean, global outreach sounds like you've got a global job that comes along with it as well. And so what you're doing basically is you're going to package up Florida, you're going to kind of come up with some things that make Florida a good place to locate, and then seek out opportunities and find folks that would say, come on over here, do your business here. If you're exporting such and such to South America, this is a good holding spot to send stuff down there.
Correct.
That's very cool.
Not just Florida's a great holding spot, but we have great companies providing great services. You need engineering firms. We have state-of-the-art engineering firms. You know, you have architecture firms. We can design your bridge wherever that is in the world.
And you coordinate with Enterprise Florida in doing
Correct.
this? Very cool.
Yes,
So it's
we
a
do.
partnership between the Chamber and Enterprise Florida?
Yes.
And Steve, there's really a sort of a guiding document that will direct the path for Florida. Our foundation just last month put out the second version of a trade and logistics study, and it really points the way for strategies that we can employ here in Florida to expand and diversify our economy in this area and set Florida up to be a global hub for trade. And that's what really Alice's work is going to be over the next several years, is looking for opportunities to expand our exports, double the value of them over the next couple of years, utilize these investments in our ports and our airports to make sure we're capturing a larger share of trade as it increases around the globe and as the Panama Canal expands in 2015.
Which is one of the things I love about the governor, his focus on expanding our ports and investing in our ports. It's the most apolitical thing you can do, because there's no way there's a single thing that's going to come out of the investment in ports that's going to benefit him right now. That's going to benefit Florida 10 years from now. Yeah. As you said, when the canal opens, bigger ships start moving through, and we can be a capturing point for those. It's a really cool thing.
His leadership to invest state dollars to provide not just the state dollars necessary, but also the federal dollars that weren't available, is going to position the Port of Miami to be one of only 3 ports on the whole East Coast that's available for these big super ships that come through the Panama Canal.
Wow.
Well, and you know, I mean, we've had our praise of the governor on this show, and we've had our problems with the governor on this show. I mean, but economically, he's kind of done what he said he was going to do. I mean, with the ports, besides the $400 million plus he put in that, he did some other cool things that I don't think the public really kind of latched onto, because it's not very sexy stuff. They removed about 2,000 bad regulations from the trucking industry, you know, where we were out of sync with the rest of the universe. If you were in Alabama or Georgia, there was a 100,000-pound limit. If you were in Florida, it was 95,000. And all of a sudden, trucks didn't want to come in and out of Florida. I mean, and when you get the things to the port, if the truck isn't there, it doesn't happen. So he's actually done some pretty cool things that are under the radar, but smart in terms of the larger agenda.
Another one that fits right into this, and you'll remember this from last legislative session, and the Chamber was very involved advocating for this, but the governor really led the charge on removing the sales tax on investment in manufacturing and equipment.
Yeah.
And that sets up our manufacturing sector to be able to export more and take advantage of these investments we're making in our ports. So they really dovetail together perfectly.
So Alice, do you kind of feel the state's do you have the tools you need to do your job? I mean, are you comfortable, or is there a lot more to do?
There's always more to do, but I think the state is well positioned. And already, it's a very attractive state to do business in. People already like to do business here. We have a tremendous amount of foreign companies that are already located in Florida, and there's a reason why they're here. You know, Canadian firms are here, UK firms are here, Asian firms are here. Why are they here? Because it's already a great place to do business. But what we look at is also enhancing it so that we can do better, so that our companies can compete in a level playing field. You mentioned the trucking regulation where we went from 95 to 100. Those are little things that you're tweaking to level the playing field so that we can compete in the same space that these companies are competing with. So we give Florida companies a better chance to do that. And the Florida Chamber has done a tremendous job in doing that already. So it's not like I'm walking into something new. This is something that they've been doing for many years. But now we're looking at it with the international space. How can we help ports do better business? Are there redundancies in the regulatory environment that's already happening? Let's take it away. You know, it's about a safe and secure environment, but let's do things more efficiently. Remove the choke points.
Okay.
Well, I want to ask why Japan. Can we go to why Japan on the way back?
Okay. I'll be in therapy on Monday, because that was going to be my question. The fact that you and I are thinking exactly alike.
That's
really.
a very scary
when
thought.
we come back, why Japan? Where did that come from? Because that really, I think, made a lot of people just sort of turn their head, and we'll do that right after this. Glad you're back with us. I was thinking, why Japan? And I wanted to help Steve out, who I think was thinking, why Japan? So Dave, why Japan? I mean, we followed along the extent of the amazing results that that were achieved in South America. Why Japan?
I'm so glad you asked, because I think all of us and so many think of Florida as that gateway to Latin America and the Caribbean, and clearly our biggest trading partners are in that part of the world. But Japan represents a pretty unique opportunity. Remember, they're the third largest economy in the world. And so, for example, last session, we advocated for the dollars and got them to ensure we could open an Enterprise Florida office in Japan and also one in China. That's the second largest economy in the world. So as the Pacific area and the Asian nations grow, we just wanted to make sure Florida was there to take advantage of those opportunities. But let's talk specifically about Japan. I bet your viewers will be surprised to know we already have 200 Japanese companies doing business in Florida, and that represents about 20,000 jobs for Floridians. Wow. Pretty cool. We also right now get roughly 270,000 tourists every year from Japan. So that's good, but it's also just the start. There's enormous opportunity there to bring in more tourism from the Japanese market.
And they consume Florida good. You were talking off air about grapefruit. They're the second largest consumer of Florida grapefruit.
Yeah, it was kind of amazing to go there and learn that they have a real appetite for Florida grapefruit in particular. And so one of the neat things that we did on the trip, the governor held a press conference at the very famous Tsukiji fish market, which many people have heard of. It's where they bid on the bluefin tuna.
Right.
But there's a big part of the market.
Obscene prices for these fish.
Oh,
and
the
thousands of dollars.
bluefin tuna is, you know, it's like $100,000. I mean,
right,
it's serious,
for a fish.
But a big part of the market there is also produce. And so the governor held a press conference and unveiled the arrival of the first shipment of Florida grapefruit for this season. And there was a lot of press coverage in Japan. It was very well attended in the middle of the market. And he did that with several grapefruit growers and citrus growers from Florida. And that was one of the neat moments.
It's interesting. People might not think that's important, but to the Japanese, symbolism is very important. I remember when the Japanese would not eat American-grown rice, and the Prime Minister of Japan sat down with the president and ate some American rice. And then after that, there was other issues, but the American rice business took off because they're huge consumers. And those kind of things are important and raise the level of awareness of Florida citrus is kind of cool in Japan.
It was.
And there's another part of this that's kind of cool to me. Most Floridians will never have the opportunity to do what we've had the opportunity to do, which is kind of sit with him for a few minutes and just see who he is. And despite however you feel about the governor's policies, he is a charming guy. I mean, when you're one-on-one with him, he's just a great guy. I mean, he's an Iowa, Midwestern, friendly guy. That has to play well on these kind of trips. I mean, isn't that an advantage for what you guys are doing, to have someone who people in those places could connect with?
Yeah, I've had the opportunity, Steve knows, to do 4 or 5 of these trips, but on the whole, either board members on the Florida Chamber or members of our staff have gone on, I think, every trip he's done. And he's been impressive, and he's delivered results, as I shared earlier, something around $400 million worth of deals for Florida's economy, and that's, the results matter.
The amazing thing to me is to dispatch the notion that these are junkets. The schedule that they keep when they're there, it's an incredible schedule.
You don't sleep much.
What did you say? It was like the speed dating of business deals?
Yeah, it is.
Going from movement. It's amazing.
There's barely a chance to take a break. And what's incredible is the governor is a salesman, and he's helping Florida companies sell their businesses. That is really the essence of these trips. They're not junkets. They are sales trips where you're selling Florida and you're selling Florida businesses. And that's an incredible opportunity.
So is he as good a salesman as he appears to be from where we're sitting?
Well, the experience that I've witnessed as I've gone on the trips with him is absolutely. He's nailed it every time we've been in a different country.
Well, I gave my reason why I thought it was. Tell me your perception. I mean, what makes him a good salesman in that kind of situation?
Well, he came from the private sector. He knows, he's been a CEO himself, and so he's very comfortable and at ease talking with these business leaders when we're in foreign countries. He speaks their language, and they kind of see him.
He knows what they're looking for.
He knows what they're looking for, and he knows how to sell Florida. He knows what our strengths are. He knows what we've been doing to improve our business climate, to lower taxes, to remove burdensome regulations. And those things add up to a pretty positive picture, and I want to put it in a bigger context for 1 second. Remember now, we've fallen now back to 7% unemployment. We were at a high of around 12 at the peak
We were
of...
pushing 12.
We were pushing 12 at the peak of the Great Recession, and we've had 38 consecutive months now of private sector job growth. That's a pretty good record.
You know what's interesting, and I'll transition to national politics for a second, but people are talking about how Obama's kind of stuck. He has an uncooperative Congress. Clearly, the rollout of Obamacare has been a bit of a disaster. These are exactly the kind of things I would like to see our president doing as well. I mean, Clinton did it to obsession. More overseas trips, trade missions than all other prior presidents combined. Now, obviously, James Monroe wasn't making too many overseas trips, but I wish our president would engage in this a little bit more as well, because it's good for the American economy. Clinton was obsessed about it, and it worked.
And it's nonpartisan. It's something we should all support.
Yes, and
But
I think people
to your
appreciate
point about Japan, the symbolism of the governor going on 10 trade missions says a lot. The mere fact, it's great that he's great on the meetings, but he's demonstrating by physically being there the importance of promoting Florida and the importance that he gives to Florida businesses, that he believes in the economy, that he's there to promote them. And he's not there alone. He takes agency heads. How many trips has Secretary Prasad from FDOT gone? This is an unusual situation. He's committing his whole cabinet to these things. Putnam has gone on a few. So these are guys that, he's not just going by himself. He's saying, you want to do business with our ports, you want to use our transportation network, or here's our Secretary for Transportation. And we're here to ensure that we promote the state.
He's handing out sun passes. No, that's a really good thing, because these kind of trips, you guys know, because you work with Enterprise Florida, it's the back end that makes a difference, setting up those meetings, making sure when he shows up, it's not just, so what do we do now, guys? It's like showing up on your vacation to New York and going, okay, let's go find some tickets for something. I mean, you've got to do all the back end work.
I guess the point I was making was that you can go over there, and if you're not the right guy, you can cause more harm than good. Sure. And if you're not that guy that's approachable, and he's had his gaffes, he has a little Spanish gaffe, but when you're just being
throw up on
colloquial,
anybody.
Yeah, well, right. When you're being colloquial and friendly, I mean, the image that I'm left with from Japan was him with his leg up, pulling up his pant leg, showing his boot to the person in Japan he was dealing with, and his boot
has the Florida seal on it.
Had the Florida seal on the neck of his boot, and that's the kind of thing. I mean, that's how deals are made. We did speculate, and I want to talk about this for just a minute when we come back. On this show, we had said, if unemployment goes under 7, and this is a discussion we had a year and a half ago, that it would be very difficult to unseat this governor, and I want to just chat about that when we come back a little bit, because we're getting very close to that number, and at the time we said it was like 9.5. We'll be right back after this. So what are the politics of these trips, and what does it mean? We said, and it's certainly nothing magic, but I don't know if unemployment is under that 7%, if anybody beats this governor, because if there's anything else to run on, that's it. I mean, that's where I am.
I'll let you guys answer. I don't know. His numbers, another poll came out this week. His numbers aren't moving. It almost seems, irrespective of what he does, his numbers
it would be
don't move.
so. I know. You look at those numbers, but I mean, I don't know how you. It seems like you could put together a pretty good message.
I think so. I think if you look at just the mere jobs numbers, that 800,000 jobs were lost in the 4 years that Charlie Crist was our governor. And then under this governor to date, 375,000 new jobs created. And that's 1.1 million jobs difference.
I guess I'm getting back to not so much a number, but a feeling. And what my feeling has always been that if people feel good about where we are.
It's the Ronald Reagan. Are
Yeah.
you better off 4 years ago than you were today?
That's why people love Bill Clinton. They do, because when Bill Clinton was in office, you just felt good. And it might not have been anything he was doing, but your life was good. And you relate that to the leadership in whatever area you're in. And I just have this sense that I don't know if it's enough, but it would be where I'd go. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know if 7%, if that 7% doesn't trickle down to the household, then people aren't going to feel good. In other words,
Right.
if they're employed, and I've argued that the employment metric is not necessarily a good metric because it doesn't talk to the quality of the jobs, but if people are generally feeling good, that's good for the incumbent governor.
I think that's right. I agree.
Well, thanks for coming on, guys.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate your work, too.
And yeah, thanks for you. It's just, it's a big pull to have you guys be here over Thanksgiving weekend, and that's very special.
Glad to do it. Glad to do it.
And welcome.
Thank you.
You've got a cool job.
Yes, I do.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. My guess is you'll have a better opportunity outside the geographical boundaries of the United States than inside the geographical boundaries of the Florida legislature, but we'll see how that goes. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.